Okay, guys, I'll start in 30 seconds. If you're just coming in, you're copying down the Social Security Act in red. You're going to put it into the notes that you've been working on with the New Deal. You're just continuing those from the last 2 days, right? Because this is a big New Deal program. Okay, so one group we really haven't focused in on throughout this particular Great Depression so far has been the elderly. The elderly people, people over the age of 60, really got hit the hardest by the Great Depression. And if you really think about it, they're the people that have spent their whole lives, building up savings, building up money. They've been working for the longest amount of time. And when the Great Depression hits and the banks close and the stock market crashes, they're the ones that kind of get hit the hardest. If you've only been working for 2 years, it's a little easier to pick up where you left off if you lose your job. If you lose your job after 40 years, it's very tough to come back from that. I mean, just to be honest, it's not an easy thing to do. So, a lot of elderly people, when the banks closed, lost everything. So we don't want to do that again going forward in America. We want to make sure that the elderly are taken care of. So the government's going to create a pension program. So if you don't know what a pension is, you want to look it up very quick. But basically what a pension is when you retire, it's sums of money that you get so you can enjoy your last few years of life without working, right? If you leave your job, you're not supposed to get paid. But if you retire from your job, okay, you can get what's called a pension. All right, so you'll hear this as you get older, okay, saving for retirement. That is because you want to save for a pension program. So every person in the country now has a pension program designed by the government for them, so they have something when they end up leaving, basically. So the government creates a pension program, which is a sum of money paid out to people when they retire. Okay, Social Security is half of that. And then there's another part of it that you guys may be a little bit more familiar with. Write in the chat if you ever heard of welfare before. Yes or no would be helpful for me. Write in the chat if you ever heard of welfare before. No? Okay. Come on, just one guy? Who has heard of welfare before? It's okay if it's a no. I'm just curious. Maybe. Ooh. Not really. Okay. So if you've never heard of welfare, what welfare has been established since the Great Depression, and it's a part of the Social Security Act. Okay. The government's going to set up an unemployment payment. So if you were to lose your job, okay, like many people did during COVID, okay, many people lost their job, they will be eligible to collect welfare. Okay, what that means is checks by the government, okay, it's paid for by the government so you can not go broke basically while you're looking for a new job. As long as you're actively looking for a new job for 6 to 18 months, you can be on welfare. Okay, now this program was created, and why we go over this separately from the other programs is this one directly will affect your life. Okay, and I'm going to show exactly how this will affect your life. First off, write in the chat if you have, everyone should have, but write in the chat if you know your Social Security number. Okay, you don't know your Social Security number, but you guys know you have one, correct? Everyone has one if you're living in the United States, okay? So as you get older, that's a thing you're going to start to remember because when you have to fill out applications for jobs and college and forms and everything, you have to write down your Social Security number when you do it. So you're going to get a Social Security card, okay, when you're born, okay? I just had a young daughter, as you know, and that's one of the first things we had to do. And the Social Security number is going to be your identification so you can get your pension when you retire. A long way down the road, 60 years for you guys. Or if you lose your job, you can collect unemployment or you can collect welfare. These two things are to help out the people that were most in need from the Great Depression, is to help them bring them out of it. All right, so everyone's can be a part of this. If you lose your job, you can get welfare. If you retire, you can get a pension. Okay, now, how do we pay for this? All right, this is the important question. So there's two ways to pay for it. You can pay it by raising taxes, or you can pay it by going into deficit spending. So in this case, Social Security is paid for by taxes. Now, what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to share with you my personal pay stub. Okay, so don't get caught up on all of like the money I make or any of the things like that. I want you just to focus on when you get a job and when you get paid, okay, what is going to happen, okay, with the money that comes out? Because we know the 16th Amendment, there's an income tax. So how much of it comes out? What's it going towards? That's a little bit of what this focus for the lesson is going to be today. Okay, so here is my paycheck. All right, you may want to zoom in a little bit. Okay, all right. This is my personal thing, but I'm okay with sharing it with you guys because I want you guys to kind of see the amount of money that teachers make is public record. Okay, because I make money off of the tax dollars people make. So you can go look this up anytime you want. So this is not like a secret thing. All right, but I want you kind of to get a sense of, how, income taxes work and how like some of these New Deal programs like Social Security directly affects your life. All right, so when you get paid, you usually get paid every 2 weeks, every month, every week, depends. But let's say in our case, my case, I get paid every 2 weeks. And every 2 weeks, I make $3,001.96. Okay, that is my total earnings when I work as a teacher. Now, that sounds good every 2 weeks, but please keep this in mind. That is not the money I bring home. I don't ever see $3,001.96. Okay, what I actually see is this number, the net pay. That's $1,703.76. Most of the money from $3,000 to $1,700 that comes out are from taxes. All right, and I'm going to show you how this works. Okay, every 2 weeks, I'm going to pay $328 in what's called the federal tax. This money is going for the federal government to basically work. All right, I'll show you where that money kind of goes shortly. Every 2 weeks, $168, I'm rounding up, goes to Social Security. All right, so that's about 6%. Right, 6% of my total paycheck every 2 weeks goes to Social Security. So essentially, my tax dollars and your tax dollars are going to people that are unemployed, lost their job, and going to people that have retired. Okay, and it goes into this pool of money basically that is divvied out based on the people's need when it comes to welfare or it comes to Social Security pension plan. Okay, so right there, okay, just between paying the federal government, I pay right around $500 every 2 weeks to the federal government. I don't ever see the money. It's not like I get it and I give it to them. It just comes right out of my paycheck. All right, then we'll learn about in a month something called Medicare. That is a health insurance program. That's about $39 every 2 weeks. That comes out of my payment plan. All right, and then I, of course, have the state tax. Okay, the state tax is going to the New York State federal government, and that's going to go to things like, making sure the public school system, the school year is free for you guys, and other things along those lines. So all in told, these are rough numbers. I'm spending right around $700 every 2 weeks in taxes. So right there, I go from $3,000 to $2,300. Okay. Now, I also choose to pay for some other things. I also choose to pay for my own retirement. This is that TRS, I pay for that. And TRS TDA, I pay for 2 retirement funds because I would like to not do anything when I retire. I don't want to have a job. So I pay a lot into my retirement. That's my choice. You don't have to. All right, but that is my choice. So when I retire, hypothetically, I'm going to collect money from my TRS, my TDA, and my Social Security. So I should be swimming in dough when I'm a lot older. All right. I also pay for my own health insurance. Okay, when you get a job, you get to choose what type of health insurance you want. I choose to get a little bit more of an expensive health insurance. You can get some for free. but maybe the quality is not as great. So I choose to get a more expensive health insurance, so I pay a little bit more money. All right. So I'm just trying to show you here that, you know, when you get your paycheck, right, just think if you make $100 in a day at a job, understand like 20 to 25% of it's going to go to the federal government and the state government in taxes. So it's going to be like, you know, you're only going to get like 70. All right. This is usually what happens, you know, when you pay taxes. All right. And you get paid for your job. So I just want you to be, you know, moderately aware of this as you guys get older, because you guys are going to get older and have jobs and you need to kind of know. So generally what happens is, depending on the president and depending on the tax plan, this number could go, this number here, 328 federal tax, it could go up or down, you know, a little bit, all right, depending on who the president is. So the most recent example I can give for you is this one here. Please copy down the progressive income tax. I'll give you a minute to write it. This is how our tax system works. So I'll give you about 30 seconds to write that down. I'll explain what that is. All right, and this is come up on the Regents. You know, this is a little bit related to the Great Depression, but it also is just something that happens when you get older, okay, and you start paying taxes. All right, so depending on the president, and we talked about, you know, briefly Republicans and Democrats, and generally if the Democrats are in power, like Barack Obama and like Joe Biden, generally taxes go up a little bit, but like not always. It's not a guaranteed, but this is one of those examples where that kind of happened. So 2017 was the last year for Barack Obama's tax plan. So you can kind of see, all right, if you made between this amount of money, you were taxed 10%. If you made between this amount of money, we're looking at 2017, you were taxed this amount. So if you made $30,000 at your job, you're going to be taxed by the government 15% of your income. That's going to go to the federal government. You get to keep 85%. Okay. 25% if you made between this amount, and then 28%, and so on and so forth. All right. What you'll notice is the next president, we had what's called the tax cut. So there was less taxes people paid. So the number I make, I want to go back for a second. The number I made in a year, okay, this is my income I made in a year. So I made right around 70,000. Okay, so that would put me into this tax bracket. Okay, so when Barack Obama was president, I was paying 25% in taxes to the federal government. All right. When Trump became president, it became 3% less. Nothing crazy, but, you know, I think it ends up being 3% of 70,000, something like, you know, $2,000, $2,100. So saves like $2,100 when there was a president change. I don't have Biden's tax plan. They don't have it out yet. We should have it figured out by 2022. So I don't know if these numbers will stay the same. I don't know if they'll go up. I don't know if they'll go down. I don't know any of that information yet. But this is the most recent one. All right. So this is known as the progressive tax. The more tax you make, the more money you make, the more income you have, the higher tax percentage you give to the government. All right. And the idea is this way, people that don't make as much money aren't crushed by the taxes, and the people who could afford to pay some more taxes end up paying more and helping out the federal government. So if you make $500,000, you're going to make, 37% of your income is going to go to the government. Okay. So understand this is, as presidents change, they come out with different tax plans, and, it slightly affects things. All right. So percentages change, but you're always going to have to kind of see where your taxes to know how much you're going to be giving. Now, there's not really anything you have to do. Like the federal government just takes it out. Like you never ever see the money. It's just something that you should be aware of. So you know how much money you're really going to be bringing into your home and for your family as you guys get older. So this progressive income tax has pretty much been in place for a long time. There's different ways, but this is the only thing you need to know for Regents, because this is what America does. Okay, we tax people based on the amount of money they make. The more money you make, the more taxes you pay. Pretty straightforward system, whether you agree with it or not. Okay, now Out of there, I want you to kind of know where your tax money is actually going to. So as you can tell here, Social Security is a pretty good chunk of it. So I pay 22% of my income goes to the federal government out of that money that I give, which I will tell you what that is. So last year in 2020, I gave to the federal government right around, when I add all three of these together, I gave them right around, looks like $12,000, okay, for my income, right, which is right around 22%. Maybe a little bit more, maybe 13,000, but I gave $13,000. The $13,000 I gave to the federal government, this is what it goes to. So 20% of my 13,000 goes to the Social Security. 20% goes to the military and defense to make sure we're protected. 22% goes to healthcare. All right. And then you can kind of see the rest of where all your money kind of goes in this particular thing. A big political thing when you guys get older is kind of discussing, okay, what's important to me? I want to be very well protected, so I don't mind giving a lot of my tax money to defense. But maybe I don't care as much about Social Security, so you may want it less, or vice versa. All right, that's a lot of where your tax dollars go. So you want to be, I guess, trying to vote for people, not only just on policies you agree with, but where your money is going to go, because it is your money. All right, so you want to kind of have an idea of it, and this is what it looks like right now in 2022 or 2021. I don't even know what year it is. Sorry about that. So this is where your tax money goes in 2021. All right, so it's just good to kind of keep on this stuff and be aware, because you guys, it may not sound like a lot now, but when you guys get jobs, you want to know, like, hey, I made $40,000 this year, and I'm only seeing 30,000 of it. Where's my money going? And you want to make sure you're aware of it, right? Because it is your money, you worked for it, so you want to make sure it's going to places that you agree with, so to speak. Okay. So before that, I want to just show you the national debt clock. We had looked at this last time. Okay. Again, it's very crazy to look at. Okay. We know we are in $28 trillion in national debt, and we know that we bring in, right around 9 to 10 trillion in taxes. So we know we're in some debt. The largest budget items, okay, the things that cost the most money for our country is, you could say right here, it's going to be Medicare and Medicaid, which we'll learn about in the 1960s. Social Security is number 2, and then defense and protecting our military and our country. So Social Security is second. All right, so this law from the New Deal, costs us in modern day money $1 trillion every year. 1 trillion, not 1 billion. All right, so this is a lot of money that goes into Social Security to help out the elderly and to help out the unemployed. All right. Now, my job is not to explain to you if that's good or bad. I don't know if it's good or bad. Okay, but it is a total of $1 trillion. There is a problem that we need to discuss a little bit that comes up on the Regents, and also is something that will affect your lives as you get older. So this issue is something you should just be aware of. And it goes here. So please copy down this last thing in red. Okay, we have a major problem with entitlement programs that you may deal with when you are an adult. I just have a typo there, sorry. All right, and I'll try my best to explain it, but it should make sense, because I think you guys understand this concept a little bit. So back in 1935, when the Social Security Act and the New Deal came out, life expectancy, meaning the average age people lived to at the time, was 61. Now, you could probably understand the reasons why for that, because these particular people, the medicine wasn't as good back then. It was a lot easier to get sick. It wasn't as clean around. So the average life expectancy was only 61. Okay, so what happens is, with Social Security, and I failed to mention this, I apologize. When you turn the age of 65 in 1935, if you make it to 65, which is above average age, life expectancy, you can expect to collect Social Security from the government. They give you a paycheck every 2 weeks, okay, through your Social Security card. All right. Now, when you turn 65 in 1935, that was like not a rare thing, but like it wasn't expected. It's above the average. So many people didn't make it to 65. So the federal government only was paying out to 7.8 million Americans over the age of 65. It really wasn't that many people, so Social Security was affordable. Okay, but I think you've understood what has happened over time, right? Hopefully. Okay, The average life expectancy in 2021 is a lot higher. It's closer to 81 years old. All right. But here's what we're doing. We're still paying out Social Security when a person turns 65. So back in history in 1935, people would only make, I don't know, people would only make a certain time frame. They make it a 65. They maybe make it a 67, maybe make it a 68, and you're only paying Social Security to them for 3 years. I'm sure you guys know people older than 65. My dad's older than 65. People are living to 85, 90, 95 years old. And what are they doing? They're collecting Social Security, not for 2 years. They're collecting it for 30 years. Okay? So here's what's happening. Okay? We have a lot more people over the age of 65. We have 42 million Americans over the age of 65. All 42 million Americans are collecting Social Security. So what happens is, okay, there's a lot more older people around. That means we have to put more money into Social Security. It depends how much you make at your jobs, Mohammed, I believe. Okay, so it depends how much you make, but it depends what tax bracket you're in. It's a complicated question. You can look it up. All right, so this means over time, American entitlement programs, okay, these programs that the government provides for us, like Social Security over the years, become more and more expensive for the taxpayers. So that means in 1935, only 2% of your paycheck went to Social Security. So if I made $3,000, 2%, very small. I don't know. It's like, I don't even know what it is. It's like $40. Okay, that's going to Social Security. All right. Now in 2021, you pay closer to 6%. So we are putting more money into Social Security because the average life expectancy is going up. And you can continue to expect that life expectancy will go up. So I guess the tricky thing is that you hear in political debates is, do you raise the average age of Social Security, right? Do you do that? Or do you say, okay, maybe we have to add more money to Social Security, because the way it's trending, it's like there won't be enough money to go around when you guys are older. So like when you guys retire, all right, there won't be enough money to go around, so to speak. So we have to kind of do something, maybe raise the age, or put more money into it, or change the program. Like that's a big political debate you may hear about. All right. The last thing you're doing, we're just running out of time here because this period is only, so short. You have a mini quiz on the New Deal. Now, this would be a hard thing if you were in school and didn't have your notes. But since you have your notes, this should be pretty straightforward. So you're just going to match what program does what, and this way we can finally wrap up the New Deal. But I wanted to take our time and go through Social Security so you can really understand, because that is something that does directly affect your life the second you get a job. Right? That's going to be money coming out of your income to those particular things. All right? So you guys are going to work on this. Please let me know if you have any questions, okay?